everybody. Welcome back to the Gains for Girls podcast. This week we have a special episode. Of course, we typically have an episode every single week on Wednesday. But I saw a story this week titled "My Stolen NCAA Championship." Of course, I naturally had an affinity to this story. I read it, and I knew we had to get the amazing athlete who was the first woman to have an NCAA title stolen from her back in 2019. I knew we had to get her on this show. Her name is Minna Svärd. She is a Swedish student who came to the U.S., competed at East Texas A&M University. She specialized in the 400 meters. She moved to America again in 2017. So now she's back in Sweden. She got her bachelor's degree as well as her master's degree at Texas A&M University Commerce. She's done just amazing things in her academic and athletic career. She placed second in the 2019 NCAA Division II women's 400 meter hurdles, behind an athlete who has garnered a lot of national attention, not for the right reasons. It's because this athlete is a male. He goes by the name of C.C. Telfer. He previously, of course, competed in men's athletics. I'm sure you all have seen photos of him. You've seen clips of him. He has been vying for an Olympic spot. He was vying for an Olympic spot in 2024. He is still vying for an Olympic spot in 2028, which, praise God, this administration has said, look, we will not tolerate fraudulent passports or birth certificates, as well as hopefully a new IOC president, hopefully Seb Coe soon, who puts a halt to all of this at the Olympic level. All of that to say, this male athlete, he destroyed the women's field. He crossed the finish line about 2 seconds before Minna, again, the rightful national champion. And the story goes, as it did with Will Thomas, this athlete, C.C. Telfer, was ranked 390th in the men's division and suddenly became a national champion in the women's division. Beyond just losing this title, Minna faced severe backlash back in 2019, 2020, when this happened, when she expressed her frustration on social media. As it goes, she was labeled a transphobe. She was labeled a bigot. They went as far as to call her a racist and white supremacist, a misogynist, which that one is hilarious to me. All the while, Telfer is being celebrated in mainstream media. We're going to get into a couple clips, some really shocking clips today, even from outlets like ESPN. He had a New York Times magazine profile. He's written a book. He pursued that Olympic dream again, ended in 2021 after failing this testosterone test. But Minna is amazing. She argues that every time a male athlete enters a female competition, a woman gets cut from the roster to make room. Really, really powerful, compelling stuff. So you can check out this interview with Minna Svärd here. Well, Minna, thank you for joining the Gains for Girls podcast. I have seen you and your story everywhere the past week or so. You had a beautiful op-ed come out in the Wall Street Journal titled "My Stolen NCAA Championship." So before we get into anything, can you just give us a little background on you, your athletic career, and ultimately this experience that you described in this op-ed?
Of course. First of all, thank you for having me. It's an honor to be here. But yeah, in 2017, I graduated high school here in Sweden, and I decided to go to America to continue my studies as well as, combine my athletic career with my continued studies. When I went to America, I continued the 400 hurdles and the pole vault, which was my main event.
So this national championship, can you describe that? Again, take us to the time period. This was 2019. It was right before COVID. I want to hear pretty specifically about, obviously, you had to compete against a male athlete. This is a male athlete now who has garnered, national attention, whether it's for, of course, stealing. I wouldn't say winning. I would say stealing this national title. His stance on the Olympics, the IOC obviously vying for a spot in the 2028 Olympics, even still. Take us back to this national championships. Did you know you were going to be competing against a male before you were on that track?
Yes, I found out a few weeks prior to the actual meet. In the track community, people talk. So eventually I heard that it would be a male competitor competing in the 400 meter hurdle event. But going up to the meet, I talked to my coaches a little bit about it. The one thing that we tried to do was to focus on me and, make sure that I was ready for the meet, because the one thing that I can really affect is my own results. When I step on that track, I can't I can't affect anyone else's results. So I just wanted to, stay true to myself and believe in what I could do, make sure that I was my best when I stepped on the track. But yeah, showing up to the meet, you could feel the tension. You could feel that something was going on that wasn't, you know, like the years prior to this. Um, and you noticed who was the male competitor right away when you got there. It was no doubt about it.
Yeah, we have a couple pictures here. Uh, it is very obvious who the male is. I think, of course, kindergarteners would be able to tell the athlete that differs from every woman who is standing on that track. Um, so you first of all, your athletic career in and of itself was, I mean, is phenomenal. Everything that you've been able to accomplish, achieve in your sport, and even beyond. So you get on that track and you race. What was that experience like?
It was a little heartbreaking. This is something that I worked so hard for, being able to even get the chance to stand on that stage. I moved across the world from everything that I know from my life, from my family, from my culture, to get an experience like this. And never did I believe that NCAA would put me in a situation, in a position where I had to compete against a man. So when before the race and when the race started, I didn't really know what to focus on. I tried to just close everything out and focus on myself. But just knowing the injustice of that entire race, I was shocked.
Yeah. It sounds very similar to our experience as Division 1 swimmers. Um the mindset that you described leading up to that national championships was very much the mindset that I had, that my coaches tried to instill in me, and then as a team captain I tried to instill in my team, right? Focus on what we know we can control. We know we can control our attitudes and our efforts and how hard, we're exerting ourselves in that pool. That's what we can control. Control the controllables. Everything else is outside noise. But it was really, really hard to kind of tune that out, because again, while of course there was again the national spotlight that was brought to our sport, probably similar to that of track, where swimming is not a sport that garners a lot of media attention, especially not on the national stage. So dealing with that, dealing with the feelings of just total violation in the locker room, it all amounted to something. But to provide just a little context here, you finish, technically you were the fastest female runner, correct?
Yes, I was.
Yes. So you were the rightful NCAA champion.
Yes, that what NCAA would call the second place.
Wow. Following this, again in 2019, 2020, it wasn't favorable to take the stand that we have now taken. You went online to post about this, to express, again, not hatred, nothing that was any sort of animosity or ill will directed to this male athlete or any particular group, but just to highlight how the unfairness impacted women. But you were attacked, is that right?
Yes, I was. I posted that I was the fastest female athlete in the 400-meter hurdle, in that 400-meter hurdle race. And I got attacked. I got a bunch of people commenting on the picture. It's about like 550 hate comments. I got direct messages with people uh, just threatening me and telling me what a bad person I was.
So when this story has recently resurfaced, has the response and the reaction that you have received, has that been different again in 2025 in comparison to 2019, 2020?
Completely different. Um, the people that's been reaching out to me now has been very supportive, and they just tell me to stay strong and keep fighting, and they're really proud over the females that are actually brave enough to speak up and speak out about something like this. So it's been completely different.
Yeah, and I think back to again 6 years ago in 2019, which is wild that was 6 years ago. First of all, being even myself a college athlete at that time, it's amazing to me because I had no idea this happened, which I think goes to show you, number 1, the censorship that existed and how, dissenting viewpoints and all of that was totally barred in 2019. We've come a long way even in regards to the I guess, the accuracy and the integrity of media and what is being presented and reported on. But you were attacked meanwhile. I mean, Cece, the male athlete, was celebrated and later even sympathized after failing a testosterone test that ultimately, of course, disqualified him from competing in the Olympics. That had to be so frustrating to see.
It was very frustrating to see because I felt like the NCAA was allowing this to happen. And while they wanted us to be silent about it, it felt like they let this male athlete walk all over me while they wanted me to applaud him. And if I didn't, I was told I was being a horrible person.
All while Cece was getting the I guess the notion of being brave and the list goes on. But I have a clip of CC back in 2019, pretty immediately actually following that national championships that you've described, where you were the fastest female athlete. The gasp, I gasped when I saw this. Let's play this clip.
The criticism that has been levied at you is that here you are doing this, you've got an advantage, people say, over cisgender women. You've actually said it's the opposite.
Yes,
talk about that.
confirmed. So it's not, if anything, me competing against cisgender females is a disadvantage because my body is going through so many medical implications, like it's going through biochemistry changes. So being on, hormone replacement therapy, it gives you your muscle depletion, your muscle is deteriorating. You lose a lot of strength because testosterone is where you get your strength, your agility, all of that athletic stuff. So I have to work twice as hard to keep that strength. And if I slack a day, that's like 3 days set behind.
First of all, this was on ESPN. I would argue, maybe not, I mean, certainly not anymore, but one of the most trusted and viewed sports outlets in America, probably across the world. This is on ESPN. Then this male, again, can we show the photo of this male outside of this male? For those who are listening and don't get to see the photo, it is very obviously what is a male with a raging 8-pack and like biceps, boulder shoulders. This male then goes on to say that you all as women actually had the advantage and he was at a disadvantage. Does it get any more diluted than that? I mean, when you're listening to this, I mean, you must just be in total disbelief. Like, again, majority of, not even just Americans, majority of people across the world when they hear that.
Honestly, when I see that and when I hear it, I just get even more aggravated. Like I can't understand that it actually happened, that it was allowed, that it just went by. And like you said, that so many people didn't even know about it, that it actually happened. It's crazy.
Yeah, that's crazy. And he talks about, losing strength and having to maintain strength. Yes, of course, when you were altering yourself synthetically, not naturally, as a male, you are going to lose strength, but you are losing strength from what already is a male. So he talks about having to maintain. Again, what he is maintaining is, in fact, male strength. You mentioned, of course, you're not from the United States. When you moved to the US, were you just shocked by this type of sex-based discrimination that you faced?
When I've moved to America, everything that you hear from this side of the world is like, oh, you get to go to America to live the American dream. You get to experience, what everybody talks so highly about. And then to go over there and experience something like this, that's not at all what I thought would ever be in my cards of being in America.
No, no. In your piece, again, your op-ed in the Wall Street Journal, the subtitle of it, and you write in there, I was the first college woman to be told her victory was worth less than a man's feelings. And I thought this was really, really powerful because, again, that's the mantra. That's the message that's being sent, that this man's feelings, this single man's identity is worth more than all women's dignity, all women's privacy in areas of undressing, all women's opportunities. In a lot of sports, one man's feelings is worth all girls' safety, especially sports where you're colliding, throwing something at one another. So I thought that was really beautifully written. And in there, of course, you stated your support for President Trump's executive order keeping men out of women's sports. But you go on to say it doesn't go far enough in rectifying these past injustices. Yesterday, the Trump administration freeze, I think it was $175 million in federal funding to UPenn after their failure to really after their policy that allowed the male that competed against me and my teammates to participate on the women's team. This is a step in the right direction, but we are far from the finish line. This just happened in Oregon yesterday. We've got a clip of it here.
Come on, Kelly!
Again, for those who couldn't see the clip, this was a male student who just won gold in the girls 400-meter varsity race at the Portland Interscholastic League meet in Oregon. Ada is what he goes by now, formerly Aiden Gallagher. He set a season record after finishing over 7 seconds ahead of his female competitors. All of that to say, again, we are far from eliminating the injustice that women are facing at the hands of these progressive, inclusive, of course, that's in quotes, policies. So what more would you like to see from the administration? And again, broader than that, across the world?
You mean from an NCAA standpoint?
I think more so from these larger governing bodies, or even the Trump administration, right? We're seeing some moves, but what about things like removing trophies or honors or records or titles stolen by these men and returning them to their rightful owners? Anything else you can think of that could be done to, again, help in some way? Again, justice, it moves the pace of a snail oftentimes, but to rectify some of the wrongdoing that women have been on the receiving end of.
Yeah, that is something, that's absolutely something what you mentioned, like giving back the trophies, taking them back from the male athletes because they should have never had them in the first place. I also think that they need to be able to figure out a way of actually recognizing what is female and what is male. They need to, in some ways, be able to separate those because there's a reason why we have two separate categories for male and female athletes. They shouldn't be combined because it's not fair. It takes away the entire justice of sports.
Absolutely. I'm sure you're familiar with the Gaines versus NCAA suit. It's myself and I think 18, maybe 19 other athletes, female athletes, who are signed on to this lawsuit. Again, all women who have directly been impacted by the NCAA and their policies, to stand up, of course, for ourselves. But again, it's much bigger than that, to stand up for women like you, to stand up for girls like my younger sister. So what do you hope to see come from this? Is this something that you see being successful? And again, I guess in the same vein, is there anything that the NCAA could do at this point to make up for what has happened to you?
The NCAA needs to be able to take accountability for what they have done. They need to, I think that they need to go out and actually apologize for what they have put all us female athletes through. They need to own up to the mistake that they made, putting us through the bullying, the silencing, and the females like you who had to endure the locker room situation, the abuse that they forced upon female athletes when they didn't even let people have a chance to say no. They took away your consent. And I think all of those things, they have to really feel what they did towards female athletes. And I think that's bigger than just going out to say they're sorry. They have to really sit through this trial and realize they need to hear the stories. People need to speak up.
Yeah,
Um,
that's definitely what we're hoping to accomplish in this lawsuit. Look, I'm so grateful for you. I'm grateful for your voice. I'm grateful that you have allowed yourself to re-endure this again, having gone through it in 2019, 2020 versus now. I hope you feel the support across the world. I hope you have a strong support wheel around you, people who are like anchors in your life, because again, you're making a huge difference. So we're very grateful for you, Minna. So thank you.
Thank you so much. And you have been a massive inspiration for me to even be able to be brave enough and to do this and to take the steps to actually speak up about my own story. So I
No.
thank you for that.
Oh, that's very sweet. Thank you guys for tuning in to the Gains for Girls podcast. As you know, you can go to OutKick.com. That's where you can find all things Gains for Girls and like and subscribe. You can share these episodes. We have another episode coming out on Wednesday, so make sure you're following along for that. I just want to remind you one of the things that was written in her Wall Street Journal piece, and one of the things we talked about today, just the quote, "I was the first college woman to be told her victory was worth less than a man's feelings." Really sit on that. Really think about that, and think about what's at stake. If people like you and me and Minna don't stand up for the truth, that's what this is about. It's not about hatred. It's not about any of the things the left likes to say it's about. It is about standing up for women, standing up for truth, common sense, sanity, logic, reasoning, science. What happened to follow the science? Anyways, glad you guys are here. Check us out at OutKick.com, and we will see you again next week.